It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. The months leading up to a major tournament are crucial. How the team feels, prepares, plays together is critical. So too the relationship between the management and its players. It can set the tone for how the campaign will pan out eventually. But with the constant unrest in Pakistan cricket, that T20 World Cup dream is getting farther away by the day. With the new mass exodus, Pakistan cricket finds itself in troubled waters yet again. And speaking of troubled waters, Australian Open in tennis is the graveyard for top seeds. It's the first slam of the year and there have been a few upsets already. The top seed in the men's draw, though, is fighting off every competition. The most polarizing superstar in tennis is getting love and hatred, whether it's from fans or fellow tennis players. Novak Djokovic spills beans on what motivates and inspires him in his quest. And there is another athlete caught in the crosshairs of the Israel-Hamas war. It's a teenager who has already faced the consequences of showing support to the Israeli soldiers. All of this lined up in the show, but first, Sports 360. We'll start with news coming in. Women's hockey qualifiers. The Indian Olympic dream shatters after losing to Japan 0-1. Japan seized the lead early in the first quarter after getting a second penalty corner and held on to it till the end. India came close to making it to the final yesterday when they lost to Germany in a heartbreaking sudden death shootout after tying the scores 2-all and tying the penalty shootout as well. So from the qualifying tournament here in Ranchi, finalists USA, Germany and now Japan with this have qualified for the Olympics. And cricket, Australia beat the West Indies by 10 wickets in the first test match. After the end of the first innings, Australia had a lead of 95 runs. Then the West Indies were bowled out for 120. Australia chased down the very minimal target of 26 runs with ease. West Indies' Shamar Joseph was the lone spark with a 5-wicket haul. Aussies have taken a 1-0 lead over the West Indies in the 3-test match series. In football, over in the Asian AFC Cup, defending champions Qatar became the first team to advance to the knockout stage. They edged Tajikistan 1-0 to finish at the top of Group A with a game remaining. Meanwhile, Palestine keep their dreams alive in the competition. They held a 10-man UAE to a 1-all draw in their Group C clash. India's dreams are hanging by a thread after their second loss at the hands of Uzbekistan. They lost 3-0 yesterday. A Bundesliga match was postponed due to bad weather. The match between Mainz and Union Berlin was scheduled for today. The German league cited safety risks for spectators due to large amounts of ice in the stands at the Miwa Arena and on the roads en route to the venue. No new date has been set yet. A fan of the English football club Wolverhampton Wanderers was picked from the crowd to stand in as a match official in an FA Cup match. His name is Ross Bennett and he is a referee at the youth level. He had stepped forward from the crowd to take over official duties when an assistant referee fell ill. Bennett struggled to contain his joy after the Wolves scored a late winner against Brentford. And French police have threatened to disrupt airports during the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. The authorities say they will go on to strike at French airports if their demands for higher pay and better working conditions are not met. French police have been demonstrating in the capital city of Paris since the start of this year. They are demanding a special Olympic bonus of over $2,000 for performing duties during the Olympic Games that's coming up. The ICC, or the International Cricket Council, is readying itself for a stern test, the T20 World Cup. Why is it a stern test? It happens every 2 years like clockwork. By now, it's a cakewalk. Well, not if it's taking place in uncharted territories, the USA along with the West Indies. West Indies, okay, but it is cricket in America that could give the ICC the jitters. It's an attempt to take the sport to a part of the world that isn't really all too immersed in it. Probably not just yet anyway. But the excitement surrounding this unique venture is sky high. The stadium that will host the most anticipated India versus Pakistan encounter was unveiled by the ICC. It's a modular stadium that can host 34,000 spectators and it's a drop-in pitch. We'll get to all of that later. That's not the story we're building towards today. India versus Pakistan. The date is set and it's not too long away, which means it is very few months for both these sides to get their act together, particularly Pakistan, and all is not too well there. And it hasn't been for a while now. Strange to even say this because it was not too long ago that Pakistan cricket was in the pink of its health. #1 ODI team in the world, Babar Azam confidently leading the side from the front. All these statements may seem like it's from a parallel universe, that Pakistan team's parallel universe, but no, it was just last year. So what's the latest troubles that seem to have hit Pakistan cricket? Remember the mass sacking post-World Cup? Out with the old and in with the new was the mantra, and that meant the entire coaching staff, the management, selection, captain, everything, including the coaching staff spearheaded by Mickey Arthur. They were all sent packing. They were removed from handling affairs at the Pakistan cricket squad. By they, I mean Mickey Arthur, who was the director of cricket, Grant Bradburn, the head coach, and Andrew Puttick, the batting consultant. All three had in fact taken up these stints with PCB just last year and were instead told to take charge of the NCA or the National Cricket Academy instead. That did not sit down too well with the men, and justifiably so. All have given in their resignations. The PCB or the Pakistan Cricket Board has come out with a statement saying, and I quote, all three individuals informed the Pakistan Cricket Board of their decision to leave their respective jobs by the end of January 2024. The decision was taken amicably between all the stakeholders. We also know that all three have managed to take up other roles. Mickey Arthur will continue as head coach at Derbyshire. Bradburn signed a 3-year deal as Glamorgan's head coach, and Puttick will take charge as Afghanistan's batting coach. In fact, Mickey Arthur's experience helming affairs at Pakistan cricket has been a disaster for the team and for him too. He did not hold back his thoughts to reiterate this very thought.
I continually witness Pakistan cricket nailing itself in the foot. The talent is there. What it needs is a good structure, good leadership, as well as continuity and sustainability, along with proper direction.
And from what we know, there was no coaching staff that accompanied the Pakistan cricket squad when they toured Australia. And there isn't any currently managing them in their series against New Zealand, both of which has been disastrous. Australia blanked them 3-0 in the 3-test series, and they are trailing New Zealand now as we speak in the 5-match T20 series. Mohammad Hafiz, who was appointed as the new director of cricket in Pakistan, doubled up as coach, attended press conference and the works in Australia. In fact, this is another sore point that is developing quietly on the sidelines. There have been many reports of a rift between Mohammad Hafiz, the team director now, and some of the players. What have been the reasons for the rift? Mohammad Hafiz doesn't want the centrally contracted players from playing the T20 leagues around the world while national cricket tours are underway. Hafiz was against giving an NOC, a no objection certificate, to Azam Khan, Shaheen Shah Afridi, who are slotted to play the ILT20 that has just kicked off in UAE. Though the squad lists have their names, and it will be interesting to see how that transpires, the main issue that has upset the rest is that only a select few were given the NOC ultimately. In fact, Hafiz reportedly questioned their commitment to Pakistan cricket, especially after the Haris Rauf episode where he made himself unavailable for the series against Australia. Hafiz, in fact, recently told the media and
centrally and domestically contracted players, for all of them, the priority is Pakistan. The point of offering it to the 2025 players is to make sure they're available to play. Now, there is a parallel option in the form of leagues, and we experienced this in Asia Cup and World Cup. There was talk of fatigue, or players were getting injured because their workload was too much, or not performing as they should.
No, but that is not the only bone of contention here. Players are restless, say reports in Pakistan media itself. They are unhappy with Hafiz's long meetings and lectures, repeating instructions over and over again. The raging issue in the Pakistan camp, such as this one, club versus country, is a concerning debate that is gathering momentum across many countries in the world, especially teams that are unable to match the finances that playing in leagues offer the players. But the larger issue that is plaguing Pakistan cricket is, of course, mismanagement. It's not about getting coaches to teach cricket to international cricketers. We all know that's not the point, but rather a solid man management team that can keep them in the right headspace. Can the system in Pakistan cricket change overnight to provide stability ahead of a crucial World Cup that is just some months away, is the question. The synergy between mind, body and soul is crucial. It's like the secret ingredient of champions. Think of your brain as the game planner, your body as the powerhouse of energy and your soul as the raging spirit. When these three work together, athletes rise to the top. Athletes like the world beater, that is Novak Djokovic, who is currently hunting for the elusive 25th Grand Slam. In the first slam of the year that has traditionally seen seeded players stumble and top-ranked players suffer shocking losses, and so far, the Australian Open this year has been no different. But Djokovic is still holding his ground, despite some very stiff competition. Though he got past Thomas Echeverry rather comfortably, the first two battles were brutal. Yesterday, his mind, body and soul were pushed to the brink, both by his Aussie opponent Alexei Popyrin and, of course, the crowd. We'll get to that in just a bit. Novak Djokovic now has 31 straight wins at the Australian Open and turned around to the crowd to celebrate his victory in classic Novak style. Noel has been coming off an injury. It's in his wrist, which he sustained at the United Club earlier this month. Even after his first round against Dino Prismic, he said he was feeling under the weather, and during his second round match against Australia's Popyrin, he called medical timeout twice during the first set. Djokovic himself admits he was not quite impressed with his current form during the second round. He won just 49 of the 117 points he played. Quite unlike him, especially in earlier rounds of any tournament. But these are minor hurdles for a 24-time Grand Slam champion. This is, after all, his most successful slam. He has dominated Melbourne Park and has won the title 10 times now. So what is it that Djokovic does to stay cool and come back stronger and meaner every single time? There has got to be more to this than just the ice baths. Ice baths that athletes use every match thereafter to recover. Well, it's apparently a tree. Yes, you heard me right, but hear me out here. It is a very special tree. At least Djokovic holds the tree very close to his heart. Listen to this. He says there's one particular tree that I've been having a special relationship with. So to say, in the last 15 years, I think it's an incredible treasure for Melbourne to have such a park and nature in the middle of the city. I cannot reveal that particular tree. I'll try to keep it discreet for myself when I'm there to have my own time. I like to ground myself and connect with that old friend. Seems like Novak's victory mojo, the secret to his strength and endurance, is this very sacred tree. It is said that locals have spotted him near a tree at Melbourne's Botanical Gardens. Back in 2016, Djokovic had posted a picture on Instagram. It was him meditating, leaning against a tree. This is like a secret love affair. Multiple pictures of him have now surfaced on social media after his recent stunning revelation. People are now trying to decode which of those is that secret lover tree of Novak. Clearly, Novak is receiving all the love in Melbourne from quarters we least expected. He's receiving more affection from a tree rather than the spectators themselves. Now, let's be honest, Novak is a very polarizing character. Compared to his peers, many fans love him, and many yet equally hate him. That's just the way he is. He has had mixed experiences, good, bad, traumatic, joyful. In 2022, he was deported from Australia for refusing a COVID vaccine and hence did not take part in the slam. That created quite a storm. Clearly, there is history between him and the people here in Australia, the tennis fans here. In his second round match, in fact, a fan bothered him during his game, but Djokovic is not one to take it in his stride and just ignore. He walked to the back of the court and yelled back at the heckler. He said, and I quote, thereafter, a lot of things were being told to me on the court, particularly from that corner. I was tolerating it for most of the match. At one point, I had enough, and I asked him whether he wants to come down and tell it to my face. He didn't have the courage to come down. That's what I'm asking him. If you have courage, come down and tell it to my face, and let's have a discussion about it. That was a rare moment of frustration, but that is how he has always been. When fans booed him, he encouraged them to do it more. It somehow makes him more focused to win. In fact, that is one of the reasons that makes him a champion. He always rallies around such controversies.
That's the kind of a mindset that I nurtured over the years. You know, it might seem unrealistic or impossible to some. It might seem arrogant to some others. I don't know. It's just that I've always believed in myself very strongly, and I know that I'm a very all-round player. And when I'm fit, when I'm at the peak of my performance, I can win any slam or any tournament. So I know that, and I'm not afraid to say that. And it's not a secret that I want to break more records and make more history of the game, and that's something that it motivates, keeps on motivating me. So I mentioned a little bit, 5 minutes ago, that Grand Slams, Olympic Games, hopefully I can win another medal for Serbia in Olympics. That I would love to do that. That's one of the highest goals for this year. But as I said, I have been in this kind of situation so many times in my career, so I know exactly what I need to do to maintain my body and mind and spirit in the right optimal state for me to have the opportunity to break records and to go further.
Clearly there is awareness that fans love him and many yet also loathe him. But that doesn't seem to matter. And that's how he behaves, be it tearing off his shirt after the 2012 Australian Open win or bouncing the ball at least 20 times before serving. He continues to march to the beat of his own racket, his own self-worth and pride. And now we know it's also to the love from a very special tree. And so love him or hate him, what he has done is put a small country rather far away from sporting achievements up on the global stage as an integral part of a tennis narrative. And with him marching towards a record that no human has managed to overhaul, Grand Slam number 25. The realm he's going to enter, of course, looks like elite superstardom. Now, for the longest time, the world has witnessed the nexus between sports and politics. These are two things that are inextricably linked. We've been aware of this, be it the Russia-Ukraine war that has affected the careers and lives of so many athletes, or the apartheid regime back in 1960s, due to which South Africa was kept away from sports for years. Today we talk about how South African cricket has been rocked because of a world crisis that began last year, on 7th of October, the Israel-Hamas war, which has had ripple effects on many fronts. Athletes shunned, footballers detained, matches and tournaments interrupted and cancelled amidst all the turmoil. Our next story is about a 19-year-old South African cricketer. His name is David Teeger, whose speech had some far-reaching consequences.
South African cricket is caught in a turmoil because of the crisis in Gaza and young David Teeger. The 19-year-old South African cricketer of Jewish descent is at the heart of this crisis that's becoming more and more prominent. With 1 week to go for the World Cup, Teeger lost his Under-19 World Cup captaincy. Here's what preceded that. On October 22nd, during an awards ceremony, Teeger in his speech praised the Israeli army. He dedicated his award to the soldiers who were engaged in the Israel-Hamas war. Here's what he said. "I am now the rising star, but the true rising stars are the young soldiers in Israel. And I'd like to dedicate the award to the state of Israel and to every single soldier fighting so that we can live and thrive in the diaspora." His words came just after a deadly strike carried out by Israeli forces that killed over 4,000 Palestinians. What followed thereafter was severe backlash. The fallout of his comments reached the Newlands Stadium, where the senior Indian side was playing South Africa in a test match on January 3rd. Protesters held up slogans that mocked him. One comment at an awards ceremony managed to snowball into a wildfire of controversy. Teeger had made the statement and Cricket South Africa started facing the heat. Sponsors and several officials in South Africa filed complaints against Teeger. There were massive protests from a pro-Palestine group who demanded Teeger's removal from the national squad. Cricket South Africa decided that the best step forward would be to remove Teeger from the captaincy position. So, with 1 week to go for the Cricket World Cup, David Teeger was removed as captain, saying they wanted to avoid any sort of conflict and violence. But that hasn't helped either. South Africa is now facing the brunt of fresh protests, accusing them of being discriminatory against Teeger. Ali Baker, who's been an administrator at CSA and is a big personality in South Africa's cricket landscape, also raised questions demanding the board to give answers. One argument is, if a recently conducted Tri-Nation Under-19 tournament in Johannesburg captained by Teeger went on smoothly, then where's the problem? This, though, is bigger than that. It's the World Cup, a bigger platform, a tournament that the world is watching. Cricket South Africa is aware of the significance and if any untoward incident off the field could hijack this tournament. Meanwhile, David Teeger has not made any public apology. He remains firm and has decided not to retract his statement. As the issue continues to rumble, the larger question is, what next? Cricket South Africa was possibly towing the line taken by its country. South Africa approached the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of committing war crimes. But is the career and future of a teenager to be sacrificed in matters that go beyond the boundaries of sport?
We've come towards the end of the show, and it's time, as always, for Last Serve. Now, what happens when the fastest man on earth meets one of the fastest cars on earth? Well, it's definitely mayhem for sure. Take a look. What I'd give to get a ringside view of that. But thanks so much for watching Firstpost here today. I'll see you again, of course, coming week. Have a great weekend and keep watching sports and Firstpost here. Bye-bye.